Okay, great.
Did it.
You made it. Hey, Brian.
Everybody celebrate. Yay. I swear it wasn't there.
It was hiding.
It was until it wasn't. I have no technological karma. I mean, I have some, it's just not good. Okay.
I think you're doing great myself.
All right.
Thank you, Venerable. Sorry.
Thank you, Nana. I forgot. All right. Well, I'm glad everybody made it safe and sound, or at least safe. I won't speak to sound. So, all right, shake off. Running around trying to figure out how to press the record button. And remember that setting our intention is the most important aspect if we want to create positive karma. So, we want to set as positive a motivation and intention as possible. And so whatever your personal reason for showing up, so you want to think of an intention that fits that, but then you just want to make it expansive beyond just benefiting yourself. You want to make it benefit, ripple out to benefit the sentient beings around you, and then ripple out some more, ripple those, to benefit those around them, and, and so forth and so on, till we benefit all sentient beings. The hand gestures are important. So, so take a moment to try to settle the mind and think about that. And the best motivation of all, according to the Buddha, is to do whatever we do with the intention to progress along the path to enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And with that in mind, we'll start with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. It's on 98. It's up there, page 98. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. And then we'll recite the four measurables on page 34. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Let's do the 7-limb prayer just for fun. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. Try to picture this. Try to picture it. You know, that in your mind, try to picture that you're prostrating. And try to picture as many bodies, replications of yourself as possible. So reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. Pause. And now picture the sky full of just beautiful offerings, the best of the best, on the best possibly beautiful trays of, I picture clouds myself, and they're being actually carried by just beautiful gods and goddesses. Beautiful food, beautiful music, the purest clean water, fragrances, flowers. Confession. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time. So take a moment to just kind of go, yes, I know I've harmed beings, and I'm sorry about that. And I really hope that I can transform my mind so these kinds of actions become less and less. And for the next length of time, whatever that is, I'll try my best to not repeat them. And rejoice on the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. And this is just so cool to me that we can just picture all the things that we know happened today that are happening right now. The acts of kindness, patience, generosity, protection from fear, just all kinds of actions in all kinds of professions by both ordinary and holy beings. And we can rejoice that these actions have been going on since beginningless time. And that we can be 100% certain will happen in the future. How wonderful this is. The manifestation of our Buddha nature. And our request, please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. And those of all others to the great enlightenment. So on the request, you can pause and try to bring to mind your teacher or His Holiness or, whoever fits for you. You're asking them to continue to teach and to live long, 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 long time. And when we dedicate merits, we want to remember that all of it's empty. We're empty. The objects of our merit are empty. The merits are empty. The people who received our merits are empty. It's just a whole bunch of empty. Okay. So karma. I wanted to, remind ourselves of the importance of intention. And sometimes the word intention itself in Buddhism is referring to karma. They're not making distinction between the mental intention and our karma. Every moment of mind, it's one of the 5 always present mental factors. So if with every moment of mind, there's an intention, there's also a feeling, there's also contact between the mind and the object. There are 2 more. Those will have to do at this particular moment. No. These are 5 mental factors that are present with every moment of consciousness. So, discrimination, the ability to discern between this object and that, this and that. And another one. Okay. So intention is what directs our mind to an object. Feeling is what sort of propels it. So if we're having a pleasant feeling, we're drawn towards an object. If we have an unpleasant feeling, we're repelled by the object. So we're being, constantly propelled by our habits, that have developed these responses to objects, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. But it's the intention, because every moment of mind has an intention, that's what's placing a karmic seed on our mind stream. Every moment. Oops. If somebody could go up and just press in and take the mouse or whatever and click the little single line above the pictures. Thanks, Jamie. You can just look on the screen.
Where?
Look on the computer screen.
Oh,
That.
this one?
Yep. Thank you. So you can think of the mental factor of intention as like a magnet. It moves the mind or it repels the mind, depending on whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. This is why our tendencies, our habits are so strong, because every time we respond with the same mental, affliction, we're placing another seed. And every moment of that mind that arises is planting a seed. So if we practice kindness a lot, then that's a likely state of mind to arise. We know people like this that just seem always, to be kind. People who always seem to be patient. It's because they've practiced a lot. When what we're drawn towards or repelled just seems random, it's the more subtle levels of mind that are reacting. We can't understand the layers of karma. We don't know enough to understand them. We can't experience all the different ways. We can't remember what all the causes and conditions are at every moment to be able to always kind of know what's going on with us. But like we've been talking about in all the classes, we can know what's happening in our mind at that moment. So we can, the more we observe our mind, the more we get just accustomed to just checking. And it's potentially important when we're feeling drawn or repelled to kind of go, what's that? What's that about? So that we can choose our response rather than just react with our habits. Our mind reflects our states of mind. It becomes, like it says here, the mind resembles whatever state of mind is present, but it does not become that. So anger may arise in the mind, but it doesn't mean your mind is anger. It just means there's a state of mind influencing your mind in that moment. It's impermanent. It will leave. But while it's present, we're under the control of that state of mind. So that's why we want to know what's going on, so we can go, I want to choose how I respond. Whether I keep feeding this mind or change my mind, change the direction of my thoughts. And why all this is important is because the mind, of course, leads our actions, what we choose to do next. So last week we talked about how there are 4 elements of karma. That karma is definite, which means what? There's always a pop quiz. Do.
Karma follows your consciousness stream throughout different lives.
That means it doesn't go to waste. That's different. So, but that's one. Karma doesn't go to waste. Once created, it's going to have an effect unless you purify it or destroy it with anger.
Destroy it, you can actually destroy
Good karma.
Oh.
He. What a drag. So definite means what produces pleasant results. Oh, come on, people. Positive actions lead to positive results. Negative actions lead to negative results. It's definite. So causes and their results are congruent. Just like if you plant a mango seed, you're not getting an apple tree. No matter how much you wish for one, not going to happen. Okay, so karma is definite. Karma doesn't go to waste. You can only experience the results of actions you did. We don't, share karma. You can't give it away. And every experience we have is an effect of some previous action. It's just huge, very vast. And there's one more. Can't go to waste. Definite.
It's dynamic.
It's dynamic. It increases. It's good news for all the good karma. But just like planting one seed can get you, a tree with many fruits, and those fruits all have many seeds, and you can plant an orchard after that. Same with our actions. Our mental state of mind plants a tendency on our mind stream, and then our actions, place a seed that are going to ripen with consequences. So we're going to look at that tonight. But first, I wanted to talk about what determines the strength of actions, because we all know our actions aren't all equal. Some are very strong, some are very kind of mindless, so, and we have lots of neutral actions all day long, where we're just going, we're brushing our teeth, we're putting on our clothes, we're not, we don't have any thought going into it. We're just kind of going in. So they're just neutral, and there's no neutral, now, it's like the difference between, like now when I just get dressed, I know what I'm wearing. It's not a big deal, right? Way back, way back, when I worried about what I was wearing that night to whatever event it was, and it was like, and you can't even get dressed without creating all sorts of negative karma. So, but fortunately, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't have to worry about my hair. It's just wonderful. So,
But how do you create? So can you give an example of how you can create negative karma when you're thinking about what you're going to put on?
oh, I hope that I wear something much nicer than so and so. And I hope everybody looks at me and no one looks at them. Yeah. It's all that's any thought that's really about me.
How many outfits to try on?
Yeah.
The right one.
Oh, I don't like any of them. Then you actually might go out and spend money. It's like, oh, I don't have anything. And you might spend money that you shouldn't be spending on clothes. So we can just do damage. Anyway. It's nothing wrong with like wanting to look nice, for the benefit of others. Like I remember Thich Nhat Hanh told his main assistant, Sister Chong Kong, before she was a nun, that she always kind of went around because she was a big activist in Vietnam, and she would go around. She was wearing sort of poor clothes, and he'd go, no, you're trying to raise money, get interest, you're trying to do all this. You need to look beautiful when you go around meeting people, so you can also do those things for really good motivations.
At the ashram in India, we were all wearing a robe in your color, and everybody, men and women, they all wore the same robe, and so you became safe. I mean, men changed their way they walked, and
monks and nuns are the same.
Right. So, and then as a practice, one night we were asked to come in our street clothes. The personalities were so different. Oh my God.
So Gisela, is that the right?
Gisela.
Just talking about how when she was in an ashram, they all wore the same outfits, the men and the women, every day. And the last day, they were told to wear their street clothes, and she couldn't believe how their personalities had changed. It's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Sometimes it's for the good. You wear something, you think you look fabulous. You have more confidence. You go out there. You can afford to be kind because you're not worried about how you look. Anyway, so now we're going to talk about the 6 factors that determine how strong an action is. This applies to both good and bad karma. I always want to remind you that this also applies to our good habits, although we're talking about the negative habits because those are the ones we want to abandon. So we need to be very aware of what they are. So a lot of this information I got from Geshe Sopa's book, Steps on the Path to Enlightenment, the Karma volume. Also, I want to just, before I forget, that series of books that His Holiness and Thubten children have been writing together, like, what's it called? Da, 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 da. the series books, the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. And so the volume 3 is Samsara, Nirvana, and Buddha Nature, and that's where they talk about karma, and it's fascinating. You know, I like these books because they're just being published. And so His Holiness, you know, when His Holiness teaches, he does sort of updated teachings, but he knows these words, you know, from the teachers like Lama Tsongkhapa and Atisha and back to the Buddha very well. And so, you know, he's very familiar with the traditional text, but he's able to speak to it from a modern perspective because he's been there, done that, you know, kind of thing. So, but this book's, if for those of you who tend towards the scholar side, who like to study, I can highly recommend this on karma. And it does all the different traditions. So you can skip all that part and just stick to our tradition, you know, and that's a good way to just read parts of the book at this point. And then later on, when you're really a scholar, tackle all the different traditions. Okay, heavy by nature. So, like if your non-virtue is clinging to a wrong view, okay? So like killing out of a belief that it is beneficial to make animal sacrifices. No. So it's due to your belief, and it's a wrong belief that something good will come out of this. So that makes it heavy, especially because it's killing. So, but it's you're killing in the name of virtue, and that's really perverting the truth. Yeah.
I have a question just on that. This morning I heard this interview with a scientist who has come up with a way to create genetically modified little piglets, and they're growing them, and they're going to become pigs. And the object of that is then they will kill them so they can use their organs for human transplant. So what would that be considered?
Killing?
Kill, even though the intention is
To serve someone else.
Right.
It's like killing one child for the organs for another child. You know, I'm not going to judge, you know, almost all our health stuff, all the surgeries and stuff have come from that kind of stuff, you know. But you know, I'm more interested when they just can grow the organs from stem cells or something. You know, they're also working on that, so that they're not creating a being with a mind, because that piglet has a mind. So.
And may I? What's going on in the news right now is about these embryos that have been frozen.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Is it killing an embryo?
Yeah, of course it's killing. Now, according to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, says if the consciousness is not entered. Now, I don't know about this with them with frozen. I mean, that's just way above my pay grade. But you know, like it happens after the fertilized egg implants into the woman's body. So it's not right away. It's once it, you know, whatever that is, the placenta starts to form or whatever, you know. So I think those embryos, that has not happened yet. But you know, but this is our big ethical challenge with technology. You know, we keep wanting, and we have to look at all of it. I want my children. I don't want someone else's children. I want mine. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure it's my egg and some, you know, my loved one's sperm that makes my baby. I won't adopt, you know, because I want something that's mine. That's kind of wrong view. And I'm not judging, but if you want to think about karma, this is those layers we want to look at, you know? So it's not about judging someone who really wants to have children, you know, and then judging them about the method they choose to have children. I mean, it's all very, you know, None of us are free from the karma of killing. None of us. So
if a person accepts a pig skin for a artery that has to be, replaced, they have, the karma is pretty bad.
I don't know if it's pretty bad.
Oh,
You're not doing it out of any malicious reason, but you are doing it saying that my life's more important than the pig. And the Buddha would agree, a human life's more important than the pig, because a pig can't become enlightened in that life. The Buddha was not a vegetarian. Yeah. Guess why? Guess why?
Why?
Think about what a Buddha did, what monks and nuns did. How did they get their food?
They did alms
people
rounds.
begging,
Begging.
begging.
You ate what you were given. You're eating generosity.
But were they still creating bad karma for themselves?
They didn't
Did
kill
have that-
anything.
Huh?
They didn't kill anything.
No, but they're eating.
Yeah, there's a difference.
Isn't there also a delineation of if it's killed for you? So
You don't want anything killed for you. You would not go beg for fish from a fisherman who's fishing for you, because then you do have a part in that killing event. But this is, and again, all of it's going to depend on your mind and all sorts of things. I mean, it's just very complicated. But if you don't want to have any part in killing, then, well, be vegetarian, but also beg for food so that you're not part of the chain at all. You don't grow your own food where you're going to kill all sorts of things in the soil and whatever. It's very, don't get caught up on this,
I eat vegan, so I feel kind of guilty about that.
I wouldn't feel
I
free.
feel terrible about the slaughterhouses.
Yeah. So you want to think about that.
I do think about it.
And you want to do the medicine Buddha mantra over the food before you eat it when you're eating meat.
Oh, no.
Okay. Heavy because of the thought. Okay. So any action becomes heavier if it's performed under the influence of a powerful, non-virtuous mind, like anger, ignorance, or attachment. Okay. So when we do anything intensely, like, I don't know, shoot the deer, be thrilled, out of intense desire. And again, if it's the opposite of that, if your motivation's weak, so is the karma's lighter, Heavy because of the method. So if you're killing with an attitude of joy, if you praise an act of killing that you have done, or someone that others have done, like you go to the big bass tournament and you cheer for the people who catch all the fish, or you go to the, whatever. We can all think of things, especially in the past, bullfights. It's an example. That's not in the past. If you have an attitude that's happy to see an act of killing, these are, in our culture, these are rare kinds of things. It's not like, we don't have bullfighting in this country. We don't have, but people are out there doing cockfighting, and they're doing pit bull type things, and they're doing all that stuff, So, and if you plan the act for a very long time, so if you plan the act for a very long time, what fuels that plan? That's what you got to think about. If it's an act of killing, you may be taking revenge, and you're really, making sure that you get it just right and that you don't get caught, that kind of thing. And if you perform the action constantly or repeatedly, like people who hunt for a living, like for sport, but it's a living, like bass fishermen or something. I keep saying bass fishermen because I've only known one person who's a bass fisherman, but they have tournaments and stuff. So it's what they do.
But there is a license to kill right now. Is iguanas.
Yeah, well, exactly. And if you do it with joy, as opposed to because it is a non-native species that's hurting the environment of Florida, then it's heavier. If you just would like to see them dead, I mean, I've known people who killed every snake they ever saw, just on principle. We don't want to develop that kind of mind. If you have rage towards anything, any group of people, and this is where it can lead, And then if heavy because of the method, so if we use really cruel methods, that's heavier. If we force someone to do these things, that's heavier. And killing those that are particularly defenseless is very heavy. So people who torture soldiers or prisoners of war, concentration camp stuff, all of that, that's very heavy negative karma. In general, it's heavier if you kill a large animal versus a small animal because there's more pain. An elephant's going to feel more pain if you kill it than the mosquito. And killing a human being is always heavier than killing an animal. Then, depending on the field of merit, you kill your parents, your siblings, your teachers, all of that, that's heavier because who they are. Parents gave you life, siblings take care of each other, and you also have a close karmic connection, at least physically, all that kind of stuff. And then heavy due to frequency, our habituation to these actions. So the more we've done an action that's negative, the heavier the karma becomes from that action. And when you think about it, you can get even more particular about how you perform the action, the more you do it, you get more, or your resentment's just getting worse, or you become more and more indifferent to the consequences to whoever you're harming. It's really easy to see these with killing. So having the knowledge and implementing the knowledge of antidotes makes actions lighter. So the fact that you know how to purify, this is, so say as soon as something comes out of your mouth, you regret it. That makes that action lighter. Because this is all about changing our mind. So the sooner we realize I want to abandon an action, the more likely it is we will eventually, we will not do that action. Or we'll do it less and less and less until we realize emptiness and we won't do it at all. Also, if your motivation thoroughly and sincerely reverses before the completion of the action, this also reduces the heaviness. And as we've talked about before in the purification thing, all actions can be purified. All negative actions can be purified. Yeah.
So the karma of the thought is lighter than the one of the word, than the one from the action.
Words and action, words and actions of body, actions of body and speech have sort of a two-part thing, because you have the mental tendency has been placed, and then you act on that, so then you have an action of harm. So it's a twofold, so that's two different seeds.
The mind is always there.
The mind's always creating
The mind is
tendencies of
always-
mind,
and then the speech and the action
harm
will
others.
but you have the same weight, let's put it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do just as much harm with speech, like you go kill those people.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All of this, since we can't know all the layers of karma, since we have too much ignorance to know, and we're talking about past lives, that this is just the culmination of things. We still understanding cause and effect can help us make better choices, because we all know of actions that we all accept as negative. And the Buddha is just saying, guess what? It also produces suffering. You may not be aware of that. So, not just for others, but it's going to come around. Like whatever somebody said last week, all I need to remember is what goes around comes around. So, this is also true of the 10 virtues, which are the opposite of the 10 non-virtues. It is virtuous to intentionally avoid non-virtuous actions. So when you have a thought that's, from a negative state of mind, and then you refuse to act on it, you really try to keep yourself from acting on that thought, that's virtuous. Then when we try to actively oppose it, like patience is an antidote to anger. Now, granted, my response to that is, well, if I was patient, I wouldn't have the anger. But now that I understand what patience actually is, you can imply it. I'm going to accept the suffering that's arising in my mind right now, and not retaliate out of anger. And we're understand the disadvantages. We need, the more we can choose not to do something because we know it's negative, it causes harm to others and to ourselves. That gives the avoidance of a negative action more power. Makes sense. So actions, the power of the object is like our parents. Positive actions towards our parents, our teachers, our siblings, all those people that were, the fields of merit that we can create horrible, heavy negative karma. We can also create heavy positive karma, taking care of your parents, taking care of Sangha, taking care of the, making offerings to the 3 jewels, all those things has a lot of power. Then what is the action, the power of the intention. So this is, okay, so generosity becomes more and more powerful when practiced towards ordinary people, then one's parents, then practitioners of virtue, lay or ordained bodhisattvas, Buddhas, and one's guru. So it gets stronger, that's the protocol. So lay or ordained bodhisattvas means that they've taken bodhisattva vows. So they're holding vows. So.
Could you go back
To what?
the one on the power of okay. Okay, thank you. I wanted to clarify something in my mind.
Very good. The power of the subject. Okay, so natural misdeeds are the non-virtues we talk about: killing, stealing, lying, sexual misconduct, harsh speech, senseless speech, idle speech, or senseless speech, and then covetousness, malice. Those are all natural non-virtues that they just, like killing, no one wants to be killed. So it's going to cause suffering. Stipulated misdeeds are vows. So the act, like intoxicants, and intoxicants aren't considered negative by nature. They're negative because of what people will do when they're under the influence of the intoxicant. So if you have a vow not to take intoxicants, then you have, if you break it, you're breaking that vow, But if you don't have the vow, then drinking is not a natural negativity. But if you drink too much and then go out and rape somebody, that's a problem, So that's why we have vows against it for monks and nuns, and for lay people can also take that vow. But it is, you can have so like monks and nuns, because they hold these vows, they get heavier karma for breaking them than someone who doesn't hold the vows.
And if you break a vow, I don't understand this, but it was my understanding that whoever the person was that you took the vow under, a negative karma comes to them.
No, it doesn't come to them, but it might hurt their life.
It might hurt their life. Okay.
So like particularly tantric vows. So it's a very big responsibility to give tantric initiations. So, which is why not all teachers give them. Even Geshes that studied and done all the studies and blah, 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 don't all give them because it's a huge responsibility. So it's, it's preferred that the person giving it to you knows the mind of the students so that they know you're ready for them. But that's what they say. So it's best, so one simple thing you can do is, of course, to purify whatever actions, you may have done, but you can also confess to the person. I haven't been doing well. So I think I took something from Venerable Rabina and on my way home broke it. The next time my Lord said, I'm not doing so well. I can't remember what it was. I'm sure it had something to do with lying in some fashion, because it's easy to lie. We have to remember how easy it is to not tell the absolute truth, so it's a tricky one. That's my excuse. I'm rationalizing it right now. But I can't even remember what it was, but I suspect that's what it was. So you can't, so I apologized, what do you do? It's very hard to break your vows because in the sense that when you take the vows, even the lay vows, killing is about killing a human being. You have to kill a human being to break it. You have to lie about your spiritual attainments to break the vow of lying. You have to, commit adultery to, I have to have sex of any kind, to break the vow of sexual misconduct. Stealing's kind of easy to do too, because you just have to steal something that's of value to the person who owns it. So your boss might think that, the photocopies you took were of value to him and you've stolen something. What's the other one? Intoxicants. Again, it's not something that is naturally negative. So the more important, the thing that it does is clouds your mind. So.
Just by thinking of each one of them, it is not something that would make me feel good.
Well, there you go. So that's a good tendency to have. As opposed to the mind that rationalizes anything. That's
and one thing that is going to my mind that it all makes perfect sense. It's kind of like, yeah.
I know. This is
So
the part about cause and effect that we can get.
See, yeah, this all makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Doing it is another story.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. The habits are really weird. When the awareness of the thought, that is to me the trick.
Yeah. So we need to be aware. Then we need to work on not doing anything just because we have a thought. You know, if we do anything, then we need to regret it, you know, and clean it up, which is why daily purification is such a good idea, because then you clean up that day's mistakes. Then you have to, though, resolve not to do it for some length of time. So you have to mean it. So you don't, you know, so you do things like say, okay, the next time I meet this person, I'm going to try to be patient for the first 15 minutes. If you don't think that's possible, then you say for the first 5 minutes, you know, or I'm going to, next time I see this person, I'm going to apologize for being impatient last time. So, you know, these, you know, so some things are hard. Now, of course, impatience is not killing someone. It's not, you know, it's just something that leads to anger.
But if you work on your impatience, it's going to be very hard for you to act. That to me is what is really
That's what it's all about.
brilliant.
Yes.
The brilliant thing is that if you are patient towards people, you're never going to kill anybody.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why you know, the more we develop things like patience, the less like we'll ever have to worry about killing.
Yeah.
You know, the more we work on generosity, you know, the less we have to work on attachment. Because attachment really interferes with our ability to be generous. So, and then the more we want to be ethical, to just do no harm, that helps us with just about everything. You know, might not help us with generosity because, you know, that's more, you know, it's a step further than just not harming. It's actually helping. So, any questions at home? Yes, Elaine.
How does attachment, if you have attachment, how does it stop you from being generous? Can you give an example?
Like you're at college and you have a favorite blouse and your roommate wants to borrow it. I remember this happening. Blue, it's a lovely shade of blue. You know? So our attachment to what we consider mine, we tend to give last. Those things are last, you know?
The self-cherishing gets in the way, generally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, because self-cherishing is under the root of that. So
Right.
before we can conquer that, we can start by conquering our attachment to possessions. You know, the end of self-cherishing is way far away. You know, because it's at the root. Yeah.
If you're in the I-95, and I mean, off the shoulder, and you know, they have, you're begging for money.
Oh,
So
like,
it's
okay.
like,
So someone begging for money on the side of the road.
Right, and it's like, if you have an attachment to money, you're gonna say, screw that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or-
Or if you have an attachment to thinking that people have to earn my generosity, and they don't do that by panhandling. If that's still the term that's used.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
That's when you hand
Begging.
Oh,
begging for money, standing at the street corner and begging for money.
Or if you think that that person is in that situation, it's consequence of their action, so that's not my problem.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
can
that
see
they
that.
need to do that because they're not doing what they need to be doing in order to have money. Yeah, that's sort of that other thing about how you have to earn and generosity,
Tolerant.
you know. So yeah, most of us have very quick judgments when we see someone doing that. Some are positive.
Is there an attachment to judgment?
Oh, absolutely. Like for one thing, we'll think something like, I had to work hard for my money. I'm not just giving it to you, you know. Like as if you'd want to stand on the side of the road and beg.
Mm.
Like that's a desirable way to earn a living.
Mm.
Like who are we kidding? Nobody ends up doing that out of, you know,
Nothing better to do.
like, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, sure, it can come after lifetimes of habits of, you know, of laziness, I guess, you know, and also no generosity because you have no money. So, but, you know, the reality is it's not a great way to make a living. You know, people who have to do that, you know, we can have compassion for their situation. Now, we may not think they made good choices, or it may have nothing to do with their choices, and it may be they've reached that point of desperation.
Mhm.
You know, so, but we have no idea. We're just sitting in our car with the air condition blowing, our favorite music on, you know, probably have a snack, you know,
We impute the story.
yeah, we're guessing.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
making it up and judging them based on it. So we want to look at that. You know, doesn't mean you should give money to everybody. I knew someone who killed someone by, you know, who was begging for money in a street, and it caused a car accident, and she killed the person. You know, it's not a safe way to make a living either. You know, so she didn't do it on purpose. It was because they were all weaving in and out of the cars. You know. So, but, you know, but it's like, you know, you have to decide how you want to handle those situations. I remember one time I knew a monk way, way back when, and he lived in New York City, and he said that, you know, there was a homeless person that camped out at the door right by where he lived, you know, and he would just not look at them, you know. And he didn't have any money to give, so that wasn't particularly an issue, but, you know, just didn't look at him. Finally realized, this is terrible. I won't even say hello to this person who's basically my neighbor, you know. So that changed, you know, so he got to know her, you know, and did all that kind of stuff. So it just, you know, you know, I always think about how if you invited some people over for dinner, and yeah, you can close the door, but it probably won't help much. You know, these walls don't have any insulation in them. They're not concrete. So, see, I'm wrong. Hey, how cool is that? What was I saying?
Invite someone over.
Okay, so you say you invite some people over for dinner, you know, and they show up with a friend. And, you know, you go, oh, fine, welcome, you know. You don't ask if that friend is deserving of your food. You just assume that because it's a friend of a friend that they deserve it, you know. And actually, we don't even think about it, do we? So we kind of want to look at the world like that. If one of my friends showed up with this person to have dinner at my house, what would I think?
Hopefully I have enough food that's for everybody.
Well, you might not have enough food, but what would you do? I'll throw another pot of pasta on. You know, I mean, it's just like, you know, I don't invite people over to dinner because I never throw on that first pot of pasta. So, so this isn't about your social, you know, your entertaining skills, but, you know, it's that the idea is that because someone's a stranger, because they're doing something that we would never want to do in a billion years, we come up with all sorts of stories about them that are based on nothing, zero, zippo. And then we have even more stories. Oh, I think it's a whole gang of them. And they just, they have one nice car that picks them up at the end of the day, and, we just do all these things that just justify ourselves more and more for being miserly. So,
Yeah, well, it's also depends where you're at. In
it's
Europe,
all depends.
yeah, in Europe, there are gangs.
There are here as well.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry. We have just as many. We've created the cause for gangs in our country as well. So gangs don't come out of nowhere. They come out of circumstance. So again, we can't fix samsara because it's samsara. Samsara is a manifestation of our actions that are completely under the influence of ignorance, of self-grasping.
But if you show compassion.
But you can have compassion. You can have generosity of spirit. You can smile. There are all sorts of things we can do. I know people who hand out little baggies full of, with a sandwich or with like a protein bar and, something that cleans your face or, all these kind of things. I saw something on Instagram the other day with someone who, I think it was in India, where they gave the man, shaved his head, brought a tub of water and soap and bathed him and gave him clean clothes to wear and stuff, Now, of course, the other person also has to want to be helped in that way. You don't just force it on people. So anyway. Yeah.
One more question on
Judging.
Yes, because to me, that's how my brain works. It compares.
Oh, it's not a habit?
So it creates knowledge out of it. So that's what to me makes it so hard because
You've been making stories since beginningless time.
I'm sorry,
You've been making up stories about people since beginningless time. It's a habit. This is one of those reminders that we are guessing. We have no clue what's going on. One of my favorite things when I was living in a community in Australia, and we'd all wait for lunch. So there'd be a long line, waiting for lunch, and you'd hear everybody's conversations. This person behind you is talking about their child who has cancer and what they're doing with that. And this person over here is talking about some death. This person's over there talking about some kind of financial disturbance, mental illness, blah, blah, blah. Like, who are we kidding? Well, but the point is, life's hard. Samsara's a mess, and we don't know what's going on with people at all. People get taken advantage of. You think about homeless, there are seniors who get ripped off in some scam, and they worked, they've done all the right things, but then they end up with not enough money to feed themselves,
So what would you suggest, to like as a cue, when we start to make up a story to get rid of it, to go and purify it, or?
Well, my first cue is I'm making this up. I say that to myself all the time.
And then sometimes I say that and I'm like, but I know it's right.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. Are you sure?
Oh, geez.
That's what you have to ask yourself, really. Voices, just the same kind of voices you say to other people in your mind. Just kind of go, oh, really? You really know that you're right. Where are the facts? It's pathetic how we completely think that we are not writing novels, we're writing history. It's just absurd. And you're not alone. That's what we're all doing. And you think the people that wish you'd give them some money aren't making up a story about you? You know, this is samsara. This is what people are, this is what we're stuck here. That's the key, is that we want to recognize, oh, maybe I need to stop doing that. Quit judging. Why do I need to spend any moments of my time judging people? We can judge actions, but judging people, you know?
You know, I have a tendency, I know, because I do give money out if I can, to women,
Mm-hmm,
to people with animals,
mm-hmm,
to someone who's disabled
mm-hmm,
or old,
mm-hmm.
really looks like.
So what is your
Well,
point?
A young guy with a Vietnam or a sign of war veteran, possibly I feel about war, I'll drive right by that.
Oh, because it's their fault that we had a war.
Well, I didn't think that.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't
look at that.
realize that was a judgment.
Yeah, you deserve it. You don't.
Right.
Based on what information? How long have you been at that stoplight?
Minute.
Maybe, but you've made that judgment
Yeah.
as soon as you rolled up and come to a stop and rolled up your window and hope they don't look at you. Now, I'm not trying to be harsh with you guys. I mean, this is a problem. You know, we have to assess actions, you know. That's fine. But thinking that we have a clue what's behind those actions, we have no idea what's going on. We have no idea what's in their mind. Even if we know the person, we don't know anything that's going on in their mind. You know, we know slivers of people's lives and nothing of their minds at all.
I had an experience the other day. I was in Publix. I was looking in the for yogurt, and it was way high in the shelf. So I'm not that tall. I reached up, and everything came down on my head.
I'm sorry.
It came down on my head. It came on my face.
Yep.
And this will be, so I thought about karma. I said, okay, what did we do? Anyway, but so I went to the manager, not for me, but I said to her, I said, you know, all this happened. If she got nervous thinking that I said, because someone else who's not healthy like me could have really gotten hurt.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, maybe that was good. Maybe I cleaned up something.
Yeah. Well, you exhausted something.
Oh, okay. So I,
You know, yeah. I mean, so, and the fact that you thought about karma at all is exactly what we want to think about instead of blame or instead of, you know, whatever we're thinking. You know, my teacher used to say, you know, when you bump into things or trip over things, you're not being mindful. So, it's your own fault. That's my story. And that's what I'm adding on to his comment, is he's telling me, you know, that I'm bad. Not just trying to tell me that if I was being more mindful, it wouldn't happen as often. I'm thinking he's judging me, the person, you know? So this is what we want to think. This is why we want to think about it. We make up most of the thoughts in our head, no matter what they're about. This is why when we read articles, you know, we read the first sentence, and if we kind of go, yeah, I agree with that. We might read the next sentence, but mostly we just say, yeah, I agree with that, and move on. The first sentence we go, wrong. We don't read anything else. We don't keep going. We completely turn it out.
We're also like that when people are talking.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
We impute immediately without really.
Well, we're just always making things up according to our own bias, filters, boredom, you know, all sorts of things. All of them are stories. The things that we tell ourselves about ourselves are stories. We're making up stories. And then we cling. Oh no, I could never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Are you sure? Yeah.
So generosity shouldn't have anything attached to it.
Ideally.
Ideal.
Yeah. That's where we want to head.
Goodness in your heart. Pure, right? A pure.
That's where we want to head. Like when you read the instructions on who do you give to, by the end of the list, it's like list 12 things, it's everybody that ask. That's what, I mean, basically comes down to anybody who asks. You know. It is not our job to judge how people use our generosity. Now, if you're a parent, you have, you know, you're responsible. You know, so it's a whole different dynamic going on there. You know, but we want to recognize when any of our actions are emotional contracts. You know, where, and very seldom are they verbal. We just, in our minds, think, okay, I'm doing this. Well, I certainly should get something back. You know?
At least the thank you.
Oh, yeah, I love that one. They didn't even thank me. Oh,
That ultimately, when you develop bodhicitta, you become a bodhisattva, there's no real conscious thought of being generous. It's just your nature. Is that correct?
no, I think you'd have conscious thought of being generous if, you know, because you'd have to go, oh, the appropriate response here is generosity. But you never think about yourself. There's no attachment there.
But sometimes there is, right? Because
For us, not bodhisattvas.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanna look generous. to
Yeah.
other people.
And so those things, even though generosity causes resources in the future, you know, even if you have a mind like that, it still will provide resources, okay?
Yeah.
But it will not provide anything that has to do with Dharma. You know, it's not going to, you know, it's just going to provide resources. It's not going to provide anything else with that. If you know what I mean. It's kind of, you know, I'm not a Buddha, so. This is
Don't
just
judge me.
based on the teachings I've had. I wanted to, I don't know if you're interested tonight. Let's see. Just we can get a taste of it anyway. Okay, so, you know, there are three results of a complete action. A complete action is the one that has a motivation, a performance, it comes to a conclusion, and it has a motivation. Anyway, there are 4 parts. Okay, so a complete action has all 4 parts completed. And those actions can have the power to actually ripen at the time of death and be what propels you to the next life. Okay, it can ripen at that moment, you know. It also causes in the future, sometime, not the next life, but down the road, results that are similar to the cause. So you still have the habit of doing that. Okay, similar to the experience of the cause means you receive that action from others. Okay, so you murder someone in this life, down the road when you're finally out of the hell realms and out of the animal rebirth realms and all that, and you're back to being a human, you're going to get murdered. Okay, and then you have an environmental result. Okay, so to give you a sense of what that is, so like killing, in fact, for all these non-virtues, that are complete, the ripened result is a rebirth in the lower realms, which is a hell realm, animal realm, or hungry ghost. The result similar to the cause is this habitual desire to kill and harm others. The experience is similar to the cause, way later down the road when you're out of those hell realms, are short life, ill health, many troubles, no success in your activities.
Can you explain that a little bit better? What does it mean experience similar to the cause?
It means you've caused someone to suffer by harming them. Now you're going to suffer in the same way that you caused that, okay? Now the environmental results, this is where you're born, you know, so the places you're born, there's violence, there's war, there are many problems, things like food, drink, and medicine have little power. You're in Gaza, and there's no food, medicine, you know. So this is, these, so these make sense, and of course, if you think about all the different varieties of a life that we have, there's a lot of nuance to this. This is just to give you an idea, because people always say, oh, but if I always have pain, if I have sick, if I blah, 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 well, then you've harmed others in the past. So this is the one I thought was so hilarious for me. Not hilarious. So malice, that's a mental non-virtue, okay? It's not an action, okay? It's the habit to be easily frightened and panicky. Which I am all the time. So similar to the cause, I will continue to hurt others and my anger and hatred increase. This is why we don't check our anger. It just gets worse and worse and worse. And then we're born in violent places where there's war and contagious disease. But I thought anger has always been a problem for me in this life. And, and I thought, oh, well, there you go. This is why I'm anxious all the time. And I've studied this before, but did it go in? No. Okay. So.
Could you go to one about senseless speech?
Yeah. Okay. So senseless speech. I'm sorry?
I have a question. Yeah, last week you said something that when you die, that thing that you thought on your moment.
Yeah, that's a long subject. We'll get to that one night.
Okay, yeah, I have that still going on. I keep thinking about that.
Yeah. So what you want to do is practice a peaceful mind.
Write down the questions I have.
Well, that's also helpful, but we'll talk about that particular moment, because that's I can't answer that in 2 seconds. Senseless speech. The results similar to the cause is the habitual desire to talk continuously. You want to hear the answer? It's the habitual desire to talk continuously and fill any quiet moment with the sound of your voice. I think it's hilarious.
It is hilarious. Because there are people, I'm not saying I'm not like me, but there are people like that they just constantly, never a quiet moment.
And then the experience similar to the cause is that others won't take your speech seriously or listen to what you have to say. See, I've created that cause. And then you're born in places where crops do not grow properly, rain falls at the wrong time. This is generally like negative environmental results are like this, hard to get good food, to grow, crops don't grow, all that kind of stuff. So covetousness, that's just that mental attitude of craving something that belongs to someone else. Like they talk about it in Christianity about covetousness of someone's wife or ox or something, but the habit to be continually dissatisfied and grasping, your attachment increases. So you can see that. So if you're constantly craving what somebody else has, then the habit is that you're not satisfied. So you're always craving what somebody else has. You buy a new car and somebody drives up next to you and they've got the, I don't know, the Maserati or the, some other car, the Rolls, and you kind of go, oh, So what I do with these kinds of things is recognize why we want to interrupt certain states of mind while they're still pretty weak, so that they don't ever grow to this level, because it just gets harder. Because the stronger the habit is, so if you're always craving things and then giving into the cravings and then craving more things, you're setting yourself up to never be satisfied. To where, how sometimes you meet someone who just seems to not enjoy anything, it's like, everything, there's something wrong with it, and so they're just dissatisfied all the time, Now, almost all of us are like that 5 seconds after we've gotten whatever it is we want. But to never even have that moment where you're enjoying what that you got what you wanted, it's just a slightly deeper habit, so we don't want that. So anyway. Harsh speech. This is another one of my wonderful habits. The habitual desire to be critical and hurtful. And when you're reborn a human, others will abuse you. And even when you speak pleasantly, they will interpret it negatively.
I don't understand the environmental results.
Well, it just means you live in places that are harsh.
Because you can have some of that and
This
is really wonderful environment. Seems like.
We are a mixed bag. So our incomplete karmas, those that don't have all 4 parts complete, are what fills out our life. So they're not as strong, as our complete. So if you're so the karma seed that ripens at the time of your death, that propels you, these are lives that are propelled to your next rebirth. These are all completed actions. Okay. So it includes all of these things. So was it a question?
Who wrote the book of, at the karmic seed?
This information is from what the Buddha observed when he no longer had ignorance. He could see everybody's past lives, see all of his, and he could see cause and effect. Nobody wrote a book. Nobody's judging anything. This is the natural cause and effect of our actions.
It's just difficult for me to accept all that.
Oh yeah. The trouble for me was, it's like, everything makes sense when I think about it this way. It's not random. If it's random, we have no power. I consider this good news.
Yeah, that's correct.
The good news is if we, stop these actions, we won't have these results.
You don't have to worry about the 2 stops.
No.
Who cares?
You just find out about the good results. And you don't even worry about those because you don't, you won't be doing those positive actions if all you're worried about is the good results. So, but yeah, it took me years to kind of be comfortable with this. But one of my childhood habits was I hated when things were not fair. In karma, everything's fair. You're the only person that has the effects of actions you did. Nobody else does. We have similar karmas. That's why we're born on this planet at the same time. Similar karmas ripening at this time in this life. But, but our results are ours alone. So that gives us the power to make better choices and have better results. And that we can purify. Once we understand the harm that we've done, then we can have genuine regret and really try hard not to do it again.
It's just the thing I have a problem with is, to accept this stuff is I guess I don't have a strong faith
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the process of, the Buddha had all this reported, from his enlightened mind.
No,
I mean,
he just, it's from his teachings.
Somebody wrote it down.
Eventually,
Hundreds of years later.
hundreds of years later.
That's what I'm
Yep.
saying.
Yeah, you can't have proof, sorry. You keep working on your mind though, eventually you'll have proof because you'll remember your past lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That really helped me a lot.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. No, we can't have proof. We have, and we don't even have to have faith, but we have to put into practice the teachings or we'll never find out.
Yeah.
We'll stay in ignorance. You know, that's the only way. It's just like anything else. You know, you can't find out if you're good at something if you don't ever even do it. You can't find out if you can meditate if you never meditate. You can never, we just, this is the process. And so the Buddha said, okay, I'm not asking you to take my word for it.
It's truly his word.
It is his word because we have ignorance. Eventually, we won't have ignorance if we put into practice. See, that's the difference. We don't have to believe in past and future lives in order to clean up our act. We can clean up our act so we have fewer regrets in this life. But that's going to have a consequence, whether we believe in rebirth or not. If rebirth's true, we're going to be reborn.
Yeah. Right.
Basically the teachings, what I was always encouraged to do is if you hit something that you just, I don't know about that, you just put it on the shelf. You go back to it later. You don't say it can't be true because that becomes an obstacle to you ever even looking at it again. It just means you don't believe it at this moment. You don't know if it's true. You don't know if it's not true.
Well, it's like, I think for me, it's not having blind faith. It's experiential.
Yes, it is
If I
experiential.
experience it, then I have faith in it.
Well, and we have to do work in order to have that.
The Buddha did not ask for to take it on blind faith.
No.
He wants you to analyze it and study it.
Right.
And meditate so you can have experiences. Yep. And so this is why I like this particular path is nobody says you have to take anybody's word for it. And it also says you could stop suffering. I don't know of any other path that says you can end suffering. I like that. And nobody else says it's up to somebody out there. Everybody, that's what, they're like, oh, well, and then, you're going to be judged. I don't respond well to that. It's not a surprise I want to be here. So, yeah. It's, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I was talking to my husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She heard.
Well, I'm listening for questions. My job. Here it is. So now we want to remember our motivation at the beginning and rejoice that we did some positive act. I mean, just thinking about this stuff is positive. It's not, it's an effort to say, how can I live better? Do less harm, And doesn't mean you have to buy into anything. It just means that you're at least looking, and that's a good thing. We want to rejoice that we're not doing it alone, that there are others also doing it. And we want to, any positive results from our positive actions, we want to share with others. Even though we can't literally do that, we want to develop the mind that's always wanting to give it to others, So we say the dedications. This is on page 230 something, 35 of your book if you can't read the screens. 235. Thank you. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may we quickly attain the state of Guru Buddhas and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, we too dedicate all these merits in the best way, that we may follow their perfect example. We dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by the victorious ones thus gone of the 3 times, so we might perform good works. We dedicate whatever virtues we've ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect, pure Lozan Drapa to shine forever. And then page 244, I think. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then I think it's page 234 or something.
Yes. Swift return.
Yeah.
234.
Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozan father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the 3 jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Venerable Tendron. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Venerable. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Venerable.
Bye-bye.
I'm not gonna say conjure.